Good evening, church. Good evening. Good evening. How is everyone doing today? Awesome. So, once again, I would like to welcome you all. So, no matter where you are joining us from, if you are joining us on Zoom or you are joining us on Facebook, we would like to welcome you to tonight's service. Tonight's service is going to be very different. One being that this is the last Monday of the year 2024, and we have less than 48 hours left in the year 2024. I think that's something to thank God for. Let everybody round of applause. All right, so tonight's training is a sort of training, but we would also be incorporating it with our theme under recalibration. But we're going to be talking about goal setting for the year 2025, and we're going to link it into recalibration. So tonight I'm going to be talking to everyone under the theme of what. So basically tonight I'm going to be giving back through what my organization does, which was why I was excited to join you today. So I'm giving back based on what my organization does to help young people and professionals in terms of youth empowerment and career development. So tonight I'm going to be talking about reflect, refocus, rise, goal setting for 2025. That's what the theme is. Permit me, I will try as much as possible to keep the time to ensure that I don't waste everyone's time. But I promise you, no matter where you're listening in from, you are definitely going to learn something that will benefit you this evening. Okay, so I will share my screen and I will just give a generally an abridged version of this training just so that we can learn together and we can work together this evening. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about reflect, refocus, rise, goal setting for 2025. Okay, so moving on. Usually, this would have been a more interactive session, but I'm just going to talk through it. So, if you set goals for 2024, you were on the right track. If you didn't set goals for 2024, that was also fine. I know there are some people who may have set goals. I know there are some people who may have set goals for this year. Some people may not have set goals. Either way, it's completely fine if you did or if you were not able to set goals for the year. That's the reason why we're going to be having this training, just to talk to you through it and also just to share more about goal setting as well as all you need to know regarding it. Okay, so sessions like these are important for a couple of reasons. One of the main reasons why sessions like these are important is because a lot of people, as I mentioned, skip goal setting altogether. So some people don't set goals for the year, and this ends up limiting their growth as well as their achievements. So through this session, through tonight's service, we're going to be talking about how to make goal setting easy for you, how to make it effective, and how to be purposeful about goal setting. Also, reflection. So if you were able to set goals for the year, reflection would help you to unlock better goals for 2025. So if you set goals for 2024, thinking to yourself, how was I able to set this goal? What do I need to improve on? How can I improve in the future? Reflection is going to help you, and this is also linked to recalibration. So without reflecting on the past, it's hard for you to set goals rooted in reality. So I'm going to be explaining why reflection is key to moving forward effectively. Also, focus goals are life-changing. So no one is successful without having a target or goal. So no matter what field you are in, no matter what industry you find yourself in, no matter what stage of life you are in, if you are not able to have a target or goal, you can never be successful. It's that simple. If you have scattered concepts of an idea without having a proper plan or a proper goal, that leads to mediocrity because your ideas are all over the place and there's no defined target on what you intend on achieving. So we're also going to be learning about how to craft clear, bold, and achievable goals that truly matter. So sessions like these are different because many times a lot of people think, so I don't know if anyone has ever set a goal for themselves or set a list of goals and they end up realizing that I completely forgot I had actually set this goal for myself when you look back a couple of years later or I wanted to start this thing, I ended up not finishing it. A lot of people fall victim to this. So we're not just setting goals for 2025, but we're getting into 2025. We're being intentional about taking the time to finish our goals and also making sure we don't leave anything left behind before jumping to the next step. So that's something we also want to address tonight. So I'm going to quickly play a GIF. So in this GIF, a person is, or a footballer rather, is shooting a ball into the goalpost. And in the next one, a basketballer is throwing a ball into the hoop. If you notice, I'll go back to the first scenario. So a footballer is kicking a ball into the goalpost, as you've seen, and then a basketballer is throwing a ball into the hoop. If you've noticed, in both scenarios, it seems like there is an aim. There is a final destination that they are trying to go to. In the case of the footballer, the aim is entering the ball into the goalpost, as you've seen. And in the case of the basketballer, the aim is throwing the basketball into the hoop. So that's also something we're going to be exploring more today. So now, what exactly is a goal? Whether you're scoring on a football pitch or you're making a basket in a basketball, goals are literally seen as targets. So a goal can be seen as an objective, a target, or a direction which deciphers your aim or your final results. Now I'm going to be talking about what goal setting is, and I'm going to be taking a hint from Brian Tracy, who is an established leader as well as an author. So now, goals are your first step and the ultimate answer to achieving great things. Goals for motivation, and they also define your roadmap to realizing your dreams. Now, the goal setting theory was devised by a researcher called Edwin Locke, and the theory basically states that having a conscious, purposeful goal increases the likelihood that the things you desire will happen for you. So it's one thing to set a goal, and it's one thing to be purposeful about setting that goal. When you're very purposeful about that goal, the likelihood of the thing you set and the objective you set happening is higher. So the theory demonstrates the importance of knowing what you want and helping you to create the plans to make the progress and to help you to get there. That was gotten from Brian Tracy. So now, why do some people not set goals at all? The first main reason why some people end up not setting goals in the first place is because they are afraid of failure. So a lot of people end up not setting goals because they are afraid of not achieving the goals, because they are afraid of not succeeding in the first place. So they don't want to take the pain of having to set a goal and failing. So they are scared and they end up not even setting any goal at all. So for example, let's say your goal is to find a new job or to move to a new country. You know it's in your heart, but instead of you working towards what is in your heart and actually putting it on paper and working towards it, you ignore it because you are thinking it's not going to happen, or you're scared about the possibility of failing. So you ignore it and you end up staying stuck and stagnant in the same position. So one reason why some people don't set goals is the fear of failure. Another reason why some people don't set goals is lack of clarity. So some people struggle with setting goals because they're unclear about what they really want in life. In this social media age, there are so many distractions with the rise of social media. Whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Twitter, so many people are doing so many different things. And sometimes there's the possibility of not knowing where exactly you stand because everyone is doing something different. So when you are pointing fingers on what everyone is doing and looking at what everyone is doing, apart from what God has ordained for you to do, you're not clear about what you want to do. And then you now end up struggling with setting your goals because you're unclear of what you really want in your life and what God has actually ordained for you. Another reason why some people don't set goals is the comfort zone. So let's say you think in your heart that you are established, you think you don't need to move on. Even dinosaurs, eventually, they had to get extinct because there was no movement and there was no way they were improving. So the comfort zone is the most dangerous place to be in as a human being. Some people feel comfortable with their current situation, and because of this, they think that there's no need for them to change or improve their lives. And that's not a very safe place to be in as a person. So the comfort zone is another reason why some people don't set goals. So this was an illustration that was shown. You can hide in your shell or you could stick your neck out and progress. Another illustration is in nature, Change is constant. Without it, there is death. If you are not growing, you are dying. If you are growing, you are changing. Embrace the unknown. It is only there you will find your treasure. So this was gotten by someone called Will Craig. So basically, it means that change is constant and you must constantly grow in order to be able to change and develop as a person. So now, reflection and recalibration. So for some people who do end up setting goals for the year, so many people I'm sure have already started writing their New Year resolutions, or they may begin tomorrow, being that tomorrow is the last day of 2024. So some people end up writing New Year resolutions and they're too quick to move on. Oh, I'm excited for 2025. I'm going to start writing about 2025. But they never take the time to reflect on how the previous year was. So in order to progress intentionally, you must purposefully take the time out to reflect on your actions, on how the year has been, refocus to see what you can do differently in the new year, and rise to be successful in the new year. So now, when thinking about reflection, one of the first questions that is important to ask yourself is, where exactly am I? So where exactly are you? Reflection helps you to understand what has worked, what did not work, and why it didn't work. It would also give you insights into your strengths as well as your areas for improvement. Another thing about reflection is thinking, what can I do differently? So what can I do differently in 2025? So many times there are goals that people don't finish. I'm sure if you should in one day think to yourself and you ask yourself, okay, I set these goals. Let's say you set 5 goals for the year 2024. How many goals was I genuinely able to accomplish? Some people may say they accomplished 3 out of 5. Some people may say they accomplished 2 out of 5. Some people may even honestly say they didn't accomplish any goal at all. So many times we don't reach our goals because we don't learn from our past experiences. So reflection gives you the clarity to be able to adjust your approach and see what you could do differently. So as a takeaway from tonight, something you can think to yourself is, what were some of my top accomplishments for 2024? What were the challenges I faced this year and how did I overcome them or fail to overcome them? And what lessons for 2024 will guide my goal setting for 2025? So for example, if one of your goals this year was getting closer to God and you feel you've not been able to accomplish that goal, before moving on to 2025, you need to think to yourself, what am I going to do in order to actually get closer to God in 2025? Are you just going to jump or move on to the next thing, or are you actually going to take the time to reflect to make sure that that goal that you actually set and you were not able to accomplish is going to fulfill in the next year? So reflection and recalibration comes hand in hand in this scenario. So now the next thing we're going to be talking about is really interesting. So this is setting bold, achievable goals, smart goals for 2025. So in a world full of distractions, especially with the rise of social media as previously mentioned, so many people fall into the trap of setting dozens of goals only to lose focus and abandon them by the mid-year. So sometimes the truth is that less is more. So focusing on a few powerful goals ensures you do not get burnt out. So this also allows you to put in the effort and attention each goal needs to succeed. So sometimes focusing on fewer goals to achieve excellence, whether you are a student, a young professional, an entrepreneur, or venturing into something new, may end up helping you. So you can begin to think to yourself, how many goals did I genuinely set this year? Were there too many or was it just right? So for example, if you set 20 goals and you're only able to accomplish 2 goals, you may have to start thinking to yourself, okay, if I was only able to accomplish 2 goals, maybe I set too many goals for the year. Maybe some goals are not specific enough and I need to actually reflect and change how I want to recalibrate those goals for the new year. So that's something to think to yourself. So now, what is burnout? Burnout is actually something a lot of people go through, but they're not aware of. So burnout is the state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion, which is usually caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It can lead to missed deadlines, a lower quality of work, and a general feeling of sluggishness that could generally affect our goals. So, as Pastor mentioned yesterday in Sunday service, so many people are excited about the new year at the beginning of the year. So January, February, they're still very pumped. By the time it starts getting to March, April, you begin to see that their motivation is dwindling down because they just realize that what are they doing? So this could come from certain aspects. It could be that you've exerted so much energy at the beginning of the year or you put so many eggs in one basket, and then you now end up blowing up because there's so many things you want to do at the same time, and you're not sure where to channel your focus. And this usually leads to burnout. And this usually leads to why some people are not able to finish or accomplish their goals at the end of the year. So now we're moving on to something really interesting. We're going to be talking about the SMART goal framework. So I'm sure many of you must have heard of the acronym SMART before. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So now the SMART goal framework. So being specific is being clear and precise about what you want. Being measurable talks about defining how you're going to measure your success. Being achievable is setting goals that are realistic given your resources. Being relevant is aligning your goals with your larger vision. And being time bound is setting deadlines for each goal. So now this is a personal thing that has helped me, and I'm going to share with you as I'm giving back tonight. So I like to see goal setting in two forms. So there's the goal setting list, which is what most people are accustomed to and what most people are used to. Then there's the SMART goal details. We're going to focus more on the SMART goal details today. But in a nutshell, the goal setting list usually looks like this. You just give a very clear and short, brief list of what you want to do for the new year. So this is an example of what your goal setting list could be like. So this could be start up a business, pursue higher education, gain financial literacy, lose weight, register my business, finish school, make an impact on my society. This is usually what some people's goal setting list may look like as they're navigating into the new year. However, now using the SMART goal framework, we're going to be more detailed about how our list is. So it's important to have that list, but it's now important to go a step further towards detailing how you intend on achieving those goals in the new year. Through this method, it gives you a mental picture to actually start channeling towards how you intend on accomplishing that goal. So back to the goal list, the first one was start up a business. If your goal is to start up a business, how are you going to go about it? So you need to be smart about how you want to do it. So now, start up a catering business within specific on my campus if you're in university, or in my office if maybe you have an office that doesn't have a catering business and you think you'll be able to infiltrate it. By June 2025, you've been able to give a specific target and a specific deadline on when you want to achieve this goal. So now, how am I going to get to that goal? You could begin to think about, okay, let me start to read up on how to start a catering business. Let me practice and shape my cooking skills, or let me collaborate with a friend who likes cooking. This will actually skyrocket how I intend on reaching this goal. Then another one, I'm not going to go through this quickly, pursue higher education. So it could be enroll in a bachelor's program, or enroll in a master's program, or enroll in a PhD program by September 2025 in XYZ country. How am I going to do this? So complete my secondary school education for those who are doing bachelor's program, or complete my undergraduate education. Read up on the requirements for my dream university or college. Do more extracurriculars. These are things that would help you. If the goal is to gain financial literacy, it could be complete a financial literacy course and save a certain amount of money by December 2025. Do constant budgeting. How are you going to get there? Take a course on Udemy, Coursera, follow creators that teach on financial literacy, open a savings account. So this is generally an overview of how you can be specific and the details that you would need when setting your goals. So making an impact on my society. So take part in community development initiatives in 2025. Now, how are you going to do that? The how is really important when you're talking about the SMART goal framework. So this could be done through volunteering at a non-profit organization, start a campaign or join a campaign ongoing, donate time or resources at an orphanage or public school. Now, I'll usually recommend that people do this through a journal because it's easy for you to look back instead of just writing on a random sheet of paper. So when you have a journal that you write these things in, the point is for you to constantly look at it. So once you've been able to detail what you intend on doing through the list that you have made, it gives you a step further to push that, okay, I've been able to actually pre-vision how I intend on achieving this goal. Since I've been able to come up with steps that will help me to achieve this goal, getting towards that final goal becomes easier. So these are just a few SMART goal framework examples that can help you. And this is also a template or a standard that can help you when setting your own goals. So now this is a very interesting part of the practical strategies for achieving your goals. So the first thing, which is really important to know, is breaking your big goals into smaller steps. Sometimes we have really lofty goals. Your goal could be to start a school that has 1,000 children, or your goal could be to start a business and make so and so amounts of money. Sometimes these goals are really big. And then if you're not able to break your big goals into smaller steps, your goals become overwhelming and the likelihood of you stopping them becomes higher. So now a strategy that would definitely help you is making your big goals into smaller steps. Okay, let's say something as simple as reading more books. If your goal is to read 40 books in a year or 50 books in a year, it sounds like a really lofty goal when you look at it as large. But something that can help you is, let me break this goal into smaller steps. So it could be as little as reading a book for 2 minutes every day, reading a book for 5 minutes every day, reading a book for 10 minutes every day. Sometimes when you break it into smaller steps like that, it it doesn't feel as large as it may have felt when you just look at read 40 books as a whole at the end of 2025. Before you know it, once you've been able to take the time each day to make these small steps, it's easier for you to get to your goals and they become bite-sized tasks and make them more manageable. Now I'm going to share something that is really important and I think will definitely help anyone who is listening to me this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you're listening in from. So personally, I like to break the year into quarters. And when I say quarters, I'm also technically talking about breaking your year into 4 different years, but also known as quarters. So let's say January to March is your first year, which is your first quarter. So based on the goals that you have set for the year, you can begin to target each goal. Okay, I hope through these goals, I should have gotten to so and so place by the end of March 2025. Then by the time you get to the end of March 2025, you're going to track your progress, which was another strategy that was listed here. So tracking your progress regularly. So by the end of the first year or the first quarter, you can begin to track your progress. Okay, so how much have I been able to do based on the goal I have set for myself? If your goal was to open a business or to register a business, what steps did I take at the beginning of the first year, quote unquote, or the first quarter to be able to reach that goal? Then the next thing, you can look at the next quarter of the year, April to June. Okay, based on the reflection I had done before, what are the next steps that I would have to take from April to June? Then July to September, what are the next things I would have to do? And the constant thing or the most important thing to do is to constantly track your progress. So this would give you visibility into what is working, what is not working, and where you may need to make adjustments. Another thing that has personally helped me is making a video journal. So at the end of each year, I usually record myself where I talk about my goals as well as what I have achieved, the things I didn't achieve so well, and the challenges I had. And this also lets me to reflect in a more personal way. Then usually during the month, another thing that would help you is creating a daily or weekly action plan. So being consistent is important when you want to progress on whatever goal you have set. So setting aside time each day to work on your goal would also ensure that it does not get buried under daily distractions. So there's always a satisfaction for anyone who sets goals or anyone who has to-do lists, whether they're working at school or whether they're at work or whether they're working for themselves, they're self-made or they're self-entrepreneurs. Having a weekly or daily action plan is definitely something that is very satisfying because at the end of the day or at the end of the week, you can tick off what you've done. So the same energy that you channel into other tasks you have, both that are important to you, it's very important that you channel that same energy into them. So create a daily or weekly action plan for your personal goals. And this would also help you to tick them off and finish them as quickly as possible. So now another thing that is important is having accountability and support. So holding yourself accountable is important, but also having someone that can support you, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or a group, can also help you to keep on track. So being able to find someone you trust to check in regularly about your progress is also very important. So as I mentioned, track your milestones, keep a record of your actions, record the milestones you have hit, and this can be done through journaling or recording yourself, and any obstacles you may have faced or you may have overcome. It would help you to remind you of your progress and also help you to stay motivated. And also you can have weekly and monthly check-ins with yourself or with a partner. So take time each week or each month to reflect on your progress as well as the quarterly years that we've kind of created through January to March, April to June, July to August, September, November, December. So taking the time to know, am I on track? What's working well for me? What may I need to change to be able to finally get to my goal? So you can also adjust your strategy as needed based on how you track and monitor your progress. Now, the next thing that is really important is how to keep up with your goals. Have you ever woken up in the morning? Let's say you have a goal, for example, to wake up earlier each day. Let's say your work starts at 8 a.m., but you have a habit of waking up late. And because you wake up late, you end up getting late. You end up going late to work, and that affects your appraisal at work, as an example. So you made it a target for yourself to get to work earlier because you know it affects your appraisal at work. So let's say that you decided to make this a target for yourself, and you know your job is at stake, because if you keep on getting late to work, eventually you may get a query because you're getting late to work. So because of that, you know I'm going to end up waking up at least 6 a.m. every day, since I know my job resumption time is at 8 a.m. So knowing this, you need to be very mindful about how you intend on doing this. Because if you decide to rely on motivation on how you feel, you may end up saying, "Oh, there's just 30 minutes more," or let me wait till another 5 minutes. Let me put off my alarm for another 5 minutes. Before you know it, you end up getting late again, which is where the quote discipline is greater than motivation comes in. When you're disciplined about something, mentally, regardless of however you feel, you're going to continue to move towards that thing because you know that there's a target and there's an end goal you want to get to. Motivation is really based on your mood and your emotions, while discipline is based on being constant and consistent even when you don't feel like it. And honestly, the truth about being disciplined is that when you're disciplined, you show up and you stick out consistently every single time. And this gets you closer to your goals than you think. If you rely on motivation, let's say your goal was to write a book, and you decide, okay, I'm going to, based on the framework we had done before, and the time of breaking tasks into smaller steps. Let's say your goal was to write a book, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to spend 10 minutes every day to write. But because you are relying on motivation, you may think to yourself, oh, it's just 10 minutes. I will move it on to the next time. I'm going to procrastinate it. Oh, it's just 10 minutes. I can try again next week. Oh, it's just 10 minutes. I can try again next month. Before you know it, you are mid-month. I have not accomplished anything. Before you know it, you're in November, you have not accomplished anything. Before you know it, you're at the end of the year. And then when you're looking back, you're thinking to yourself, what was I able to actually do? The moment you rely on motivation as a factor to do anything, you will never be successful. Discipline is the forefront for being able to keep up and finish off your goals, because with discipline, you are consistent and you make sure that you are thriving and you're moving through every single thing. So a way to help you to be disciplined, one way that could help you is the 1% improvement rule. So even though we know as human beings, sometimes our emotions get the better of us and we feel we cannot do certain things, committing to improve yourself by just 1% every single day would definitely help you to prolong and to strive towards your goals faster. So for example, let's use the book as an analogy. If you decide to write at least one sentence every day, even on the days you don't feel like writing anything, the way creativity works is that as you begin to write, you can begin to fine tune and you can begin to refine. But the important thing is starting. Once you start by just writing 1% every day, just write a few words, a few sentences here and there. The more you look at it, the more you'll be able to know, okay, I can change this about, I can change that about. Instead of thinking to yourself, oh, I don't even know what to write at, so I'm not even going to start. Let me procrastinate until I feel better about my ideas. That's a problem that a lot of people end up facing, and that's the reason why they're not able to accomplish anything. So committing to improve yourself by 1% every day over a year, you will see that the small changes will compound into massive progress. Another thing that definitely helps is the 2 minutes rule. So if a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. So this will help you to eliminate procrastination and clear small tasks off your plate, creating space for bigger goals. Earlier on, I spoke about burnout and how burnout mentally affects people and ends up getting them stressed and they can't do anything. Sometimes the reasons for burnout may usually be measly things that we don't even realize. Imagine you saying that you have a to-do list, or let's say you check your email and you have about 50 emails to do. Some of the emails may be completely things that You just need to click off, and in 30 seconds, 1 minute, you're done. But because you're overwhelmed by how many things there are, you end up not doing anything because you're overwhelmed about it. So with the 2 minutes rule, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I can quickly clear this off my desk and move on to other things. So once you start with the smaller tasks that take less than 2 minutes, it also gives you motivation that, okay, I was able to do these many things as small as they may have seemed. And because you were able to do these small things, you can now move on to the next thing. So the 2 minutes rule could apply to things that replying to an email. Some emails may take less than a minute to do because some people are just not mentally motivated to do them. Or setting up your workout clothes if your goal was to lose weight. Sometimes when your goal is to lose weight and then you now see to yourself, oh, the next day I'm tired, I'm this. When you see your clothes already there, it reminds you that, okay, I have decided the previous me wanted to do this for the future me. So because the previous me wanted to do this for the future me, current me is going to make sure that this happens. So setting up your workout clothes is another example in the next morning to be able to accomplish your goal. So being constant and being conscious about the things that would help you get closer to your goals and other things to help you to keep up with your goals. As I mentioned before, discipline is greater than motivation, and without discipline, you can never be successful. So self-discipline is when your conscience tells you to do something and you don't talk back. And as we wrap up today, I would like us to remember that goals are more than tasks. They're a reflection of your priorities, your values, and your aspirations. When you are approaching goals, approach them with purpose, make sure you break them into manageable steps, and celebrate your progress. Another thing people sometimes don't realize is that you don't need to accomplish every single thing in 1 year. Goals can actually prolong as long as you're being focused around them. So let's say your goal was to start up a business. But there are a lot of tech businesses nowadays. Most tech businesses take a period of time to actually manifest until they are brought to the public. If you don't start now, how are you going to get to the final destination? That's something that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people usually look for quick fixes, and quick fixes don't help you. So the important thing is taking the steps that would actually help you. So going back to the reflection journal we spoke about earlier, when you're reflecting on your goals or reflecting on your tasks, if you had already started the goal for that year and you had not accomplished it, you have still been successful. The most important thing is not abandoning what you had started and making sure that same energy you used to begin, use it to finish off and close off so you know that you've successfully completed that goal. So you don't need to force yourself or pressure yourself into completing everything in 1 year, but knowing that you're actually taking the time to be purposeful about the goal will definitely help you to be successful. You also don't need to achieve everything 100%. Also, it's also important to remember that success is a marathon, not a sprint. Focus on your growth. Don't compare your growth with other people because everyone is working on their own pace and their own pathway. You may be looking at someone's Y and you're at A, but you don't know the different steps they had gotten to that Y or that Z. So being consistent and focusing on your growth and not listening to outside noise would help you with your progress. Thank you very much and God bless you.